Welcome to Lesson 2 in Unit 2, Playground Cooldown. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how do weather patterns change across the year? In this lesson, students will look at weather patterns across the year. They are introduced to the 4 seasons and their repeating pattern. Students will compare weather conditions in each season and the amount of sunlight in each season. By the end of this lesson, students will figure out the changes in a pattern that repeats every year. Students will make connections to the storyline by using seasons to determine when during the year the playground might get too hot. There are several opportunities for ELA and math cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 2 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 5 days to complete. In the Explore portion of this lesson, students will research and begin to identify weather patterns throughout the year. You will show students a series of images that depict different types of weather in different seasons. You will ask students what weather patterns they notice. You'll revisit the driving question board to add any new questions and highlight others connected to the learning goals of this lesson by calling attention to questions about patterns, weather throughout the year, or seasons. Students will also watch a video to compare the changes in the tree shown to the images of different seasons. Once students have observed different seasons through pictures and video, you'll direct them to the Identifying Patterns Throughout the Year student journal page to draw their observations about weather patterns they observed. In the Explain portion of the lesson, students will engage in a class discussion to use evidence from their research to identify the seasons. You will use the provided questions to guide the discussion around how do weather patterns change across the year. The goal of this discussion is to analyze weather patterns throughout the year and identify the pattern of the seasons. From the discussion, students should understand that the weather repeats in patterns called seasons, which occur in the order of winter, spring, summer, and fall. Students will be able to understand that the playground might get too hot in the summertime. You'll begin to explore weather patterns by reading the book, The Squirrel's Busy Year. Use the Read Aloud Guide to synthesize student ideas about weather patterns throughout the seasons. During the discussion, you can post and discuss the seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall vocabulary cards. After you have created your summary chart, you will have students return to the bottom of their Identifying Patterns Throughout the Year student journal page to use their drawings and answer the final question. In the Elaborate portion of the lesson, you will ask students, how do you think the sun affects how the seasons change throughout the year? To see what ideas students might already have about the sun and seasons. Next, you will display the daylight hours per season pictograph. You'll let students know that the suns in this graph represent an hour per day. You'll have students work with a partner to notice and wonder about the graph. In the Evaluate portion of the lesson, students will apply their understanding of seasonal patterns to show how they repeat. You'll have students use The Seasons student journal page to label the seasons and answer the final question about patterns. Next, you'll show students the October weather calendar for St. Louis. You'll have students turn and talk with a partner about the weather patterns they notice. Then, you'll have the partners share out the patterns they noticed with the class. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient them back to the driving question board. Ask, what did we learn about how weather patterns change during the year? And what new questions do we have? By the end of this lesson, students will have identified and described the 4 seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, and recognized the repeating pattern of the seasons. In Lesson 3, students will look at severe weather that can happen in each season. In the Optional Extend portion, students can investigate the relationship between animal behaviors and seasonal changes. They will watch a video to discuss what the animals are doing in winter and how this compares to what they do in other seasons. Finally, you will direct students to the Animals in Winter student journal page. You'll have students color and assemble this page to make a small booklet. For more information about this unit, visit mysidepartners.com.